what is up? How you doing? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Foreigner Podcast. This is already the 4th episode I'm doing. And as always, this is the podcast for people who are planning to go on an exchange or live abroad. Maybe those that currently are abroad, or those that came back long ago but like to practice some remembrance of their good days. This podcast is also for host families or soon-to-be host families. So, everything condensed. This podcast is about anyone and everyone and anything and everything that is in any way interested in foreign cultures or living abroad, going abroad. So, if you care about other cultures, other countries than just the one you live in, this is the podcast for you. And I'm really happy that you tuned back in today. As you probably heard it, I was trying to get more improvising in the way I open this podcast. While in the last episodes I've been reading off a lot, I will try to get to more and more autonomous speaking and not having to write a big of a script. So that is why this podcast episode is pretty much a pilot. I barely wrote anything for my script, so if there should be any situations like the one that just happened where I use words as like or so as always, this is because I am improvising most of it. So please tell me in the comments or send me an email to theforeignerpodcast@gmail.com about how you like that. Should I speak more freely or should I write a longer script? So there we go. I already said so again. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to work on myself. But anyway, what are we going to talk about today? And as always, we have one major theme of the episode. Today it's gonna be festivities. What that means, we'll come to that later. But of course, we will, as always, have a quote and an item of the episode, which I will present to you and show you and give you a glimpse on. If you are ready, I am ready too, and let's get to the main part of today's episode. I don't even want to stretch the introduction much longer. Let's get to the festivities. So, festivities, that means any celebration in any kind of fashion that you will be having or meeting on during your exchange or time abroad. And I will talk about this from a exchange student perspective, so you know what to expect and you can hear my own explanations of what it is, what it means, and how to behave on it. So this is not a big list of all the celebrations celebrated around the world. It's inspired by my own experiences that I got in the USA. So for other countries, of course, there will be other celebrations than that. But since sadly not yet I have that much of a look or that much of a view into other cultures other than the American one and those that maybe my exchange student friends went to, I will just say whatever. I will just talk about whatever I know about because, well, I don't want to talk about anything I have no clue about. So, let's get into it. The first celebration or festivity that you will run into is an official city festivity. This is like, I think every city or village has it. It's just a celebration of the village existence. It's most of the time on the day that the city was founded or the first actual naming of the city happened, or just to any very important event that happened to the city on that date. It's usually yearly, so you'll encounter it for your village or your city that you will live in probably once, maybe twice in your exchange year if they decide to do it more often. So what happens on this festivity is that lots of people are coming. It's most of the time in a park or somewhere where there's just a huge space. And there will be food trucks and stations where you can buy food. There will be attractions, like you would see them on, I don't know, a circus. Like there will be Ferris wheels and just stuff like that you typically see all over the world. And there will be often live music. Where I was in Minnesota, it was country music, of course. There was an old band and people were actually enjoying it, and it wasn't even that bad. And there will be the city youth they will be separated by some way from the older people, so you can decide who to stick with. Like, I was there with friends, so there weren't that many older people I hang around, but there were people playing soccer on the sides and people running around buying things or looking at the stands, because there will also be stands. Like, the fire department had 2 or 3 of their fire trucks there and gave free rides to the people who wanted to have a look into what a fire car looks like. So they would just pile a bunch of people in the car, as many as it could fit, and they would drive around the city and turn on the sirens once so they could hear a siren from the inside of a fire car. So stuff like that will happen. And politicians will be there and do, just advertisement, other organizations like that are, just advertising their brand and what they do. There will also be, at least in the USA, a state fair. In Minnesota, it was the second biggest state fair in the entire USA. It is a really big thing. The only bigger one that is attracting more people is the one in Texas, but that's over a way much longer time than the one in Minnesota. So Minnesotans always say they are the biggest one if there wasn't the Texan one that goes over so long. There's kind of a rivalry there. But that's also just that city celebration in huge, gigantinormous. There is so much food. There will be so many people advertising, like the parties. They will be there, and it's just everything in huge. And like agriculture people, like farmers, will present their animals, and there will be shops for everything. You can literally buy anything on those state fairs. If you should land in a state where they have a big state fair. There are also states that have a pretty small one because nobody's going. But at least in Minnesota, it was gigantic. There was so much walking and just so much to see. It's a really, really, really cool thing. It always happens in the end of the summer, so probably in the beginning of your experience. So go there. Of course, do it. Most exchange students will probably go with their host families because it usually happens before school starts already, so they won't have that many friends. So that's a great way to bond with your family and experience some great times, because it's really fun. So much I would say to that. Let's get to the next part. The second festivity you can run into is the school dance. In the USA at least, and I don't know if they do it in Germany they don't actually do it that way, but in the USA they organize school dances. They're like 4, maybe a year. They're like prom, but in smaller. And there's homecoming, which is also a smaller prom, but it's pretty boring. At least what I've heard of. I couldn't go because I had a exchange committee meeting, so I had no time to go to homecoming, but everyone told me that was a good thing because it was just boring and a waste of money. But the school dances, except for homecoming and prom, they will all have a motto that you could go to, that you should dress up as. For example, in the fall one, so in autumn, we had Halloween, Monster Mash. So we're supposed to dress up as monsters or scary things. I dressed up as Sorrow. I just dressed up in all black and I had like a face mask. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There will be a DJ at the school. It's usually in the sporting area, so on one of the fields for sporting indoors, because if it should rain. And they usually go until midnight, which is also when most cities have their curfew for people that are under 18. So keep that in mind and ask your host parents about it. And yeah, it's just lots of fun because people will go there. In the beginning, it's pretty lame since only the 9th graders will be there. But in the end, the seniors come, and most of the time, they're drunk when they go there. So it's fun to party with them if you are not drunk, because you can see seniors turn loose. So yeah, that's pretty fun. And they mostly play rap music, so don't expect like formal standard music as if you would have to dance like you learn to dance in Germany in 9th grade, where you learn standard dancing and tango and a waltz. That won't happen there. Most of them don't even know how to dance any of that, and it will be rap. So I would say 80% of the girls will be twerking all the time, and the guys will do slacker moves and think they're the coolest. So this is basically what's gonna happen. But it's a bunch of fun. It's really fun, especially if you like to dance and move your body rhythmically to the music. Then homecoming and prom are more formal, which will not mean that there will be standard music again. You will still listen to the same music, rap music, and there will still be girls twerking, but when they wear dresses, that's not that easy for them. So there will be less twerking and just teenagers having fun. Prom is also a really good thing that you should definitely consider going to. I didn't like it that much because it was nothing else in the school dances, at least from my school. It wasn't that special. And how shall I say it? Well, yeah, it was pretty expensive because you have to come in formal wear. So luckily my parents helped me and rented my tux, which was a tuxedo. In Germany it's called smoking. And it was really expensive. So of course I had a date there, so I had to pay her food. And luckily a friend of mine drove her with the car, so we didn't have to rent a taxi or something like that. Like, I know groups sometimes rent party buses and do a drive through downtown of whatever city they're in, but we didn't do that. But still, it was pretty expensive and not worth it that much for me, since the music wasn't much better, the atmosphere was pretty much non-existent. So I would still say, though, that it was an experience you should do. Even if your prom sucks, you will still be able to say, I experienced American prom, which nobody anywhere else that wasn't an exchange student in the USA can say. And it's a pretty lit thing still. They have free foods and drinks, so you can just stand on the bar and drink pop or soda all the time, if that does it for you, and eat popcorn. They had differently flavored popcorn, but most of it was disgusting, since I don't like the big cheese flavor so much, but especially Northern Americans are very much into cheese. So we had like three sorts of popcorn that just tasted like different cheese. Yeah, that should be it to the school dances, I would say. Let's come to family celebrations. If there's a birthday or anything, you can go there. And if your parents invite you, which they should, your host parents, that's gonna be fun. But of course, most of the time there will be pretty older people there. Like, there won't be that many people in your age group, so you should be ready for that. And they might get drunk the later it gets, and you cannot drink since you're an exchange student, or you shouldn't. But that's your own choice, and I will talk about that later. Yeah, it's just fun, and you meet new people, and it's like the biggest example for a family celebration would be Thanksgiving, where the whole family meets up, eats turkey. We had a Friendsgiving too, hosted by two great friends, where just the friend group of them met. So because they were still pretty young, there were many young people, and it was really fun. It's just friends hanging out, eating together, celebrating, talking, remembering the past memories and summarizing their last years. It's lots of fun. So you should never turn down an invitation to that, because you always meet new people and older people that have interesting stories maybe. Like, if there's a really old person, they might even be a, I don't know, veteran from Second World War stuff. If that happens, you should always talk to them. Or because the USA has fought lots of wars, there will probably be veterans of some sort from some war there. So you can talk to them. They always have pretty interesting stories. That's why I would say always go to family celebration. Yeah, that will be lots of fun and an interesting experience for you. Then there are parties from churches. If your family is religious, or you have a religious youth group at your school, like we had Young Life, which I didn't go to, but many people did. They always have parties too, and they're always safe spaces since they're hosted by the churches, so there won't be any alcohol or drugs. So it's safe for you to go, and it's just a social point where you can hang out, meet new people, and that's lots of fun. So that's why always, if you are invited, go there. Say yes, do it, and you will meet new people, you will make new memories, and you will meet new friends. So it's great, and most of the time you won't have to pay for it. So what is better than having food, nice people to talk to, a spent afternoon or evening, and just a great time for free? There's nothing better than that, so go there. Then we have banquets. Every sport or club that is bigger than just a student-led club will have a banquet. Banquets are a bit more formal, so you should come in a skirt. A shirt, I'm sorry. If you're a girl, you may come in a skirt. No worries. Or if you are a guy who feels like wearing a skirt, you could do that. At least in Minnesota you can. If you would wear a skirt like in the southern states, well, I wouldn't do that if you identify as a boy. But in Minnesota it should be okay. At least where I lived. But anyway, I didn't want to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the banquet. It's usually going to be free food, a slideshow, a PowerPoint show on the team or activity that you did, and just talking about the season that passed, and that's pretty much it. So it's fun, it's free. Yeah, it's free. You can meet up with your friends from your team or club again, eat some free food. And for my soccer team, for example, they did it in a hotel in our city, so that was pretty fancy. But the theater guild did it in the school this year, which wasn't that fancy, but it was okay. And they always have nice ideas of what to do for the seniors that are leaving, or like things that will give you a memory. So I got a senior jar, which usually they only gave to the seniors, but thanks to my great theater guild people, I got a senior jar too. So they had a jar at the banquet and papers in front of it, so everyone could write a nice few words on there. And I took it with me to Germany, and I first opened it when I was back in Germany, and it was just so sweet. I was really happy about it. So that kind of banquet will happen to you too. And depending on your team, what you do, and where you live, there will be such really cute things probably done for you too. Staying in the cast or in the team or in the club, there will be cast team club parties. I don't know how they will be called where you live, but this will probably be one of the richer people that are in your team or in your cast. They will host a party at their house, which will not be officially by the school, so this will be the first one non-official. It's private, and most of the time there should not be any alcohol or drugs there. So most of them are safe for you to go to as an exchange student, because the parents will be there, and most parents do care what their children do. And if they invite, 30 people over, some don't. So talk to someone you trust and ask them if there's an expectation of drugs or alcohol to show up at that party, and if yes, then maybe you should not go to that party. But there will always be cast and team parties that are really fun, where just people that enjoy the same thing may be playing soccer or singing if you're in the choir or musical peoples. Yeah, so that will be lots of fun. Now we come to the private chill, how I want to call it. That's the harmless version. It's just a party by someone in a smaller circle at their house, and there will be no alcohol or drugs, because it's the harmless. It's just a chill. You might play something on his video gaming console, or watch a movie, or do whatever you want to do and have fun. Order some food, maybe watch a series or anything like that. It's the harmless way of just hanging out with your friends, which you probably do in Germany or wherever you live too. And then there's the private party, which is harmful. This is if you go to parties where there's alcohol or drugs. Like in the USA, I can pretty much imagine at most private parties there will be some sort of cannabis or some sort of things to smoke. And here, I don't want to hold you the big talk of, don't do it, you're an exchange student. I'm just saying, your exchange organization told you to not consume alcohol or drugs and to not be caught where they are. If that happens, you know the rules, you will be sent home, and the money that your parents paid for this experience for you will be lost, because you will have to end your stay. That's why you, on yourself, this is only your decision, because it's your exchange, have to decide, is it worth to risk your entire experience that might be the greatest experience of your entire life just to drink alcohol or smoke some weed at this single party. You personally should decide and have the right decision-making process in your head. Do you feel like this is the right decision? And that's just what I want to say to it. If you decide that it's not, and you see that any sort of alcohol or drugs show up at that party, you can always call your parents, your host parents, and tell them, yo, I'm at this party. I didn't think there was going to be anything illegal, but now it showed up. Could you please come get me? And they will get you, because they want you to get out of that dangerous situation too. And they might be mad at you for a day or two, but that's okay, since your stay will continue and you will not be sent home. And everyone will understand that. That is why make the right decisions. Make good choices, as my host dad would like to say it. Okay, so much to the festivities, and let's get to the quote of today. I found a pretty nice quote, and I kind of brought it to the festivities too. It says, "It's easy to impress me. I don't need a fancy party to be happy. Just good friends, good food, and good laughs. I'm happy, I'm satisfied, I'm content." It's by Maria Sharapova, who's a Russian athlete, and I like it very much because, as it says, it doesn't take alcohol or drugs. It just takes good friends, good food, and good laughs, because that's what actually matters, and that's what makes you happy. So that's what will happen at the official parties or at the private chills. Not at the private parties that are harmful, because there everyone's just going to be drunk or stoned or on high on whatever and just be sobbing around in a corner or whatever, and it will not have good friends, good food, and good laughs. And let's get to the item. As I said today at the school dance, there will be dancing. And what I did, because I'm a shuffle dancer, so I know how to do the shuffle, as you probably know the song from LMFAO, where they shuffle all the time. That I do that dancing, and for me it was pretty cool to buy LED shoes. So they had a lit up sole on the, is it called a sole? It's the bottom of the shoe. It was lit up on the corner, so it would put my feet in scene while I was dancing, and people really liked it. So if you dance, or if you know any good dance moves with your feet, get these shoes, because people really liked them and they were celebrating them, putting me on their story, and people would ask, oh, who's that guy, and want to meet me and stuff. So you make new friends just by wearing LED shoes and being a good dancer. So if that would be a thing for you to do, definitely buy the LED shoes. But look there, I will see if I can find the exact shoes that I bought, because they were qualitatively high, but don't buy cheap wear, because they can break or have like faulty parts in them. So that is why don't buy cheap, buy quality. And there we are done for today. Thank you very much for listening to this episode again. As always, feel free to still sign up at the Foreigner Podcast Monthly, which is my free newsletters, to get your own free ebook, The 5 Biggest Itches of an Exchange Student, scratched. And please leave a positive review wherever you may get this episode from. It really helps me to reach more people with what I'm doing, to give them more education about living abroad, going abroad, exchange years, because it's a great thing I believe in. I want to pass peace forward. So that is why please help me reach more people. Share this with your friends. Share this with your, colleagues at work, or with your classmates in school. They should know too about this great thing. And as always, feel free to send me an email, especially for this episode, after I try to do it more freely, telling me what you think about it. Because I'm still producing ahead to have a bit of a booster, I may not be able to respond to your email right away, but it will work. And as soon as I get it, I will respond to it. But maybe I will not do what you told me or what you advised me to do in the very next episode. So please have understanding for that. If you need the email address again, it's theforeignerpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so very much for listening to me today. and have a nice rest of your day, night, morning, whatever you're having right now. Have fun, enjoy your life.